The start of my Chile adventures was unconventional. I entered the country on a ship filled with sheep and a bus that broke down in the middle of nowhere. After Ushuaia in Argentina, I crossed the border into Punta Arenas in Chile. It was just a stopover city before moving on to Puerto Natales, the base for the most popular hike in Patagonia. But before that, I went on a horseback riding tour. This was my first taste of Chilean Patagonia. The views were gorgeous, the wind was strong, and it was so cold the trees froze in a certain direction. After spending a few days prepping in town, I embarked on my hike in Torres del Paine National Park. A bus ride followed by the catamaran later, I finally arrived on the trail. The 5-day W trek is the most popular hike in Patagonia, and for obvious reasons. Everywhere in the park is so beautiful and photogenic. Autumn colors and snow-capped mountains is the best combination. This was my first multi-day trek, where I carried my own tent, gear, and supplies. I had not trained for it, and sure enough, on the third day, my knee gave way. It was so painful I had to turn back. I did not complete the trek and missed out on the iconic views of the three peaks of Torres del Paine. I spent a few weeks recuperating and did some small hikes in Argentina before continuing my adventures in Chile. My next stop was the Marble Caves. It was an adventure to get there in the off-season. There was a road closure, insufficient buses, getting stuck in random cities, and deserted hostels. And when I was finally there, the attraction looked vastly different from what I saw online. Apparently, I was there in the wrong season. It looks way better in the summer due to the water levels and the sunlight. A couple of days later, I hiked up Cerro Castillo. It was a steep, uphill hike. My knees were hurting, my shoes got wet, and I was all alone. I felt Torres del Paine. I felt Fitzroy in Argentina. I wanted this to be successful. This hike wasn't easy, but after 3 grueling hours, I finally made it to the top. Third time's the charm. Notice the shape here. Castillo means castle because this mountain is shaped like a castle. After a very long bus ride, I arrived at Castro, a city on Chiloé Island. This UNESCO site is known for its wooden churches and colorful palafitos or stilt houses, which reminds me of those in Southeast Asia. Here are some autos literally right by the market. After a brief stop at Pucón, I made it to the capital, Santiago. It was nice being back in urban civilization after a couple of months in Patagonia. The street performers, the markets, the nightlife. And just like in Buenos Aires, I was very impressed with a cemetery in Santiago. Then, I climbed up to the top of San Cristobal Hill, admired the cityscape surrounded by mountains, and sat there till sunset. After a short break at Santiago, I headed west to Valparaiso, a port city known for its vibrant street art and colorful cliff-top homes. Everywhere I turn, I see street art, as if the entire city is an open-air art museum. There are over 40 hills in Valpo, so to get around, the residents use these historical elevators or funiculars. A quick train ride brought me to the neighboring city of Viña del Mar, which has a totally different vibe. Instead of the gritty street art in Valpo, it's more elegant and manicured here, like the rich people's neighborhood. I found an impromptu cheap flight ticket to Easter Island, so I hopped on it. It was never part of the plan. Easter Island has the cutest airport, and I was given a garland upon arrival. Accommodation was really expensive and all I could afford was a tent at a campsite. It wasn't too bad, it was near the sea and was very cooling. There was a kitchen and bathrooms, but I had to walk 15 minutes to the center of town to connect to the Wi-Fi at the visitor center. The first night, I joined a tour that brought us to some cultural performers. They painted my face, made us dance and watch a few shows. The next day, I had my first sight of the mysterious moai, the large stone heads dotted across the island. Nobody really knows how they were carved, how they were moved, and what they represent. I like to think that it's aliens. The next few days, I cycled around the island to see moai, a volcanic crater, and more moai. I loved my time on this island, but it was really expensive for the broke backpacker, so I had to leave after 6 days. My last stop in Chile is the Atacama Desert. It's pretty amazing how the landscape changes from the south to the north, from cold to hot. This place is called the Valley of the Moon. It's cool, but not as impressive as the Valley of the Moon in Argentina. By the way, the white sediment on the floor is actually salt from a nearby salt mine, not snow, even though it was winter. And this is the Death Valley because it's so dry here, nothing can survive. The next day, I decided to bike the driest desert on earth, then hike up the fortress Pucara de Quito. San Pedro de Atacama is a very scenic area, but most tours were expensive. The last thing I did in Chile was to go on a 3-day tour from Atacama to the Uyuni Salt Flats in Bolivia, and you can watch it in my next video. Ciao!